All right, folks, welcome to DMVSTREAM.COM. We have a live stream today from Avalon School in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I'm your host for the day, BJ Kuberillis, alongside of our recruiting insider and recruiting expert, Brandon Roth, who's going to be walking us through a lot of not just the decisions from here today, but also locally in the area. I want to also let you know that Brian Decker is producing and directing today, and Nick Plum is also helping us out as well. So, we're here, Brandon. This is a school, it's a small school. A lot of people have not heard of the Avalon School before today. Really. I mean, I hadn't heard of it until you emailed me and said, hey, there's this guy, Jacquille Veii, who is making a decision. He's one of the last top recruits in the area to hold back that decision. And, we will find that out live on the air today. He's down to Maryland, of course, the local school, which draws our interest as DMVSTREAM.COM. And then there's also Iowa that is interested, and Nebraska made this thing interesting at the last minute, Brandon. They swooped in and made that offer. So why don't we start talking just a little bit about Jacquille as a player. We'll get into a lot of the other stuff as well. I mean, we've got a long time. This thing isn't slated to really get decisions made until about 11:30. So why don't we just start off and talk a little bit about Jacquille, the things that make him one of the top recruits.
Well, I mean, when you define an athlete, I think that's what the definition of Jacquille Veii is. I mean, the kid has lined up all over the field this year. He's played corner, wide receiver, running back. He's played on special teams in many different facets. He's even taken some wildcat snaps. So when you think about a kid who's played all over the field, it's definitely Jacquille. The next thing you think about is speed. I think he's just he was tied in Maryland camp this year at 4.3.
Right.
And that was the big thing that caught a lot of people's attention is his speed off the bat.
Yeah, so you talk a little bit about that 4.3 speed, and, Randy Edsall, they talked about how he clocked Jacquille at 4.26. There was a great story by the Washington Post's Brandon Parker in today's Washington Post. Brandon is actually on the way to Avalon, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him. But in the story, it says that in that camp where Jacquille went, he ran a 4.26 according to Edsall's clock, but everybody else clocked him at 4.3, and it didn't matter. I mean, they offered him the scholarship on the spot. So obviously the speed is one thing that makes him great. The other thing is Jacquille really, and Brian Decker, who came out to do an interview, which we'll see in a moment with Jacquille as a lead up to this, he made it clear that he's an athlete. And he's not a running back or a cornerback, or maybe he's still waiting to decide what he's going to be at the next level. So in a moment we're going to hear from Jacquille Veii, but we also want to hear from you at home. We've got a monitor up that is currently rotating through your tweets. The hashtag is DMVStream. If you hashtag your quote, we can see that on our screen, and you might get the shout out here at DMVStream.com during our live broadcast. Okay, Brian is working the production for us, so we want to go to an interview that Brian did with Jacquille over the last 3 weeks. This was before Nebraska swooped in and offered, so we do have Jacquille talking about Maryland and Iowa. Brian, let's go to that.
I'm Jacquille Veii, athlete from the Avalon School, and I'll be making my commitment live on DMVStream.com. I would describe my experience here in high school at Avalon very fun and a lot of memories as well. My strengths as a player is my speed and my quickness and my agility, and also being a team leader and working really hard. I don't have a position that I prefer to play. I just want to get on the field, to be honest. Yeah. The recruiting process for me it's been a roller coaster ride. It's been fun. It's been stagnant. It's been slow at point, and it's picking up now. But overall, it's just been a really good and fun experience to be in. The things that I like about Iowa is definitely their fan base. I like what they have to offer academically. It's just right for me, basically. The things that I like about Maryland is that, one, also it's close to home, so I get to be close to my parents. Friends and family can watch me play, and definitely that they are higher up there in academics. It looks good. My feelings and next step is in my college career is I'm definitely anxious to see how I would fare against other competition, but I'm definitely gonna be competitive at all times and just go out there and play football. Just do it, play how I know how to play. I'm definitely excited about my commitment because it's been a dream ever since I've been having desires to play college football, and just watching all the older guys before me do their thing. That's always been a dream of mine to do. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm definitely excited about it. Tune in to DMVSTREAM.COM on February 6th to see me make my commitment live.
Okay, so you get to hear from Jacquille himself during that interview, and of course you will hear from Jacquille Veii later in this broadcast about where he is going to play his college football. People are starting to filter in now. We are live at DMVSTREAM.COM. If you want to see your comments on this current broadcast, hashtag is DMVStream. Want to thank, let's see, who's that? Nate Klaus for the retweet and talking about the Huskers and how they've gotten involved in Jacquille's decision. Also, some other guys to mention that are going to be here today is Tommy Vince is going to be making his decision to play college football as well. But also another big guy that was featured in Brandon Parker's story in the Washington Post today was Rashid Ibrahim. Let's talk a little bit about him. He's going to Pittsburgh, has already made that decision.
Yeah, he's a big-time running back. He's definitely got the speed you look for in a D1 running back, but he's a big guy. He's a bruiser. He's definitely in between the tackles guy. He's had offers from a few different places. BC was one of them, including some other schools, Ohio and Albany and a few other schools like that. But, I mean, he's another guy who I look for at the next level to be really successful. I mean, you got those two guys who really carried that team this year, and they made that team legitimate in the private school conference.
All right, so it is National Signing Day. This is the Super Bowl for high school sports and really the lifeblood of college sports, Brandon. Today is the biggest day for both of those, high school football and college football. People making decisions across the country. We're local here in the DMV, which means we care about the Terps. You just got a text that says that, why don't you tell us the news if anybody doesn't already know it?
Well, I finally just got a text about Yannick Ngakoue. He just decided he's going to Maryland, and we also found out this morning that Tavon Jacobs is going to Maryland. So big day for the Terps so far. We'll see what happens here this afternoon, but it could be even bigger. So
it looks like Randy Edsall, Mike Loxley is doing a heck of a job out in College Park. And we'll see if they can add another one here today, live from Avalon. I'm BJ Kubarulis. This is Brandon Roth, our recruiting insider. Folks, if you don't know what DMVStream.com is, I want to take a moment to just show you a quick video about what we do at DMVStream.com and tell you a little bit more about our interaction. It's a unique site that allows you, the viewer at home, the users, on your mobiles, tablets, and computers to interact with us. Let's go, Brian, and hit that promo for just a moment. We'll be right back here from Avalon.
What's up, sports fans? I'm really excited to tell you about our newest product, DMVStream.com. DMVStream.com is a website dedicated to broadcasting live sports in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. We'll be broadcasting pro, amateur, college, high school, AAU, and youth games, as well as tournaments. You can watch these free broadcasts on your computers, tablets, and mobile devices like iPad, iPhone, Android, and more. DMVStream.com is a free site. No subscriptions, no logins, no hassle. Just log on and watch sports free. What's different about us? Well, you're in control. You're calling the shots. By voting in our weekly poll and sharing it on Facebook and Twitter, you can tell us where our next broadcast is going to be. I'm really excited about this new venture, and I hope you'll help us spread the good word by logging on to Facebook and Twitter and sharing us at DMVStream.com.
All right, we're back here live at the Avalon School in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I'm BJ Kubarulis alongside of recruiting insider at DMVSTREAM.com, Brandon Roth. Make sure to tune in to Brandon's show every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. at DMVSTREAM.com. He talks about all of the local recruits here, where they might be going, where they might end up. And, of course, today the big news from here is Jacquille Veii, one of the top 150 athletes in ESPN.com. Brandon was able to actually help get this together. I should say publicly thank you for that. With the relationship he built with Jacquille. You came out early, Brandon, and this is part of why a lot of Terps fans are so interested in this. You came out early, more than a year ago, I believe, and interviewed Jacquille after he had committed to Maryland, and then since then he rescinded that. Tell me a little bit about that whole situation and what you know about it, and maybe why Terps fans today think they might still have a shot at him.
Well, I mean, that situation's a little blurry, but from what I understand is that there was a transcript discrepancy there with one of his classes that they didn't think he had that he needed for the next level. He got that straightened out, and they reoffered because they want the guy. They were just worried about eligibility at the next level.
Okay, so you talk about that, and sometimes there are issues like that when you transfer. And Jacquille transferred here from Richard Montgomery, not too far down the road, along with Rashid Ibrahim. Though they came at separate and different times, it's worked out for him. But that wasn't the case when he first got here. A lot of people thought there's no way that a school of 100 kids is going to be able to produce something in a D1 level. And not only do they have one D1 prospect coming out of here today, but two. And that just speaks volumes about the coaching here. We've had a chance to catch up and talk with Coach Tad Shields. We will do some interviews after the decision has been made. Brian, if you want to give a shot of the podium and what we're looking like here today and what it's going to look like, I'll sort of walk people through it. We've got the podium set up as well with an audio feed where decisions will be made, and then there will also be people sitting at the table. Jacquille will pick between 3 hats. I've been told that a couple of the boys just made a road trip to Lids to get a few extra hats. So I don't know what that means, and I don't know which hats they couldn't find, but they had to make the trip to Lids. I see some people starting to filter in with their Maryland hats on, locals making this a place to be. We're happy you're joining us here at DMVSTREAM.com. It's 11:15. We should be starting to see the athletes themselves filter in a moment as we are getting going here on our live broadcast. People are around taking pictures and getting ready for that decision. They've billed it as an 11:30 start, so Brandon and I will be here as your guides and your hosts until that happens. We've got some things that we want to show you at home during the broadcast, but remember, if you want to see your comments or hear your comments read out during this broadcast, hashtag DMVStream. We've got one here from S_McShane asking, what are the chances that the Huskers land Jacquille? So I guess Brandon, as the recruiting expert, McShane, C_McShane tweeted that to us, wants to know, what are the chances that Jacquille ends up with the Huskers?
I mean, I honestly think they're really good. I mean, when a big-time program like Nebraska comes calling, it's obviously an offer you got to listen to. He went out there, canceled his official visit to Maryland this past weekend, went to Nebraska. From what I've talked to him, he had a great time with some other prospective recruits that Nebraska had. And, I mean, from what I've heard, I'm not going out there, but I've heard Nebraska has a very good chance.
Right. All right, so, kind of a lot of things have happened over the last couple of weeks, so let's try to backtrack a moment here. So he had these 2 offers, many offers. 13 to 14th was the Nebraska offer, and Jacquille's decided his final list was Iowa and Maryland. And then in the final week, actually after we announced we were doing the stream, taking full credit here at DMVStream.com, it looks like Nebraska swooped in with that offer. Let's talk a little bit about that timeline and if we're making some projections and predictions. He did cancel the final visit to Maryland. Randy Edsall was in the house the day before that, I believe, after he found out that trip was canceled. If you're Randy Edsall, what's the final pitch?
I mean, well, I'm sure I'm not too worried if I'm Randy Edsall. I mean, you're local. He's been there many times. He's been on 4, 5, 6 different visits. He's had plenty of time to check out. But, I mean, I think the whole DMV to UMD thing has got to come into play. You have a lot of the big locals deciding they want to stay home, and rep for their city, as Stephon Diggs would say, and I think that's the main pitch. Also, I think you talk about Maryland. Out of the 3 schools, Maryland gives him the best chance at immediate playing time. I mean,
so we are, as you see there, there's a shot up on the table of the 3 hats Jacquille Veii just put down. There is Iowa, there's the Terps hat, and the Nebraska hat. Jacquille is going to be making that decision soon. Stay with us here at DMVSTREAM.com. Want to give a shout out to Mo Legend on Twitter. He says he's so proud of his Avalon brothers. You know, we've got a lot of people chiming in on Twitter, and if you want to chime in on Twitter, it's hashtag DMVStream, and we will read that live on the air, some of your thoughts, questions, or comments. We're about 12 minutes from the actual start of the decision. Some of the athletes are starting to filter in. Brian, if we could get a shot of some of these guys up here, just starting to get ready and starting to, the final moments, of course, the build-up to the final decision. Jacquille tweeted this morning after he tweeted last night. He said, "I'm turning my phone off. I got to think about this. I need a clear head before tomorrow." Obviously, Brandon, big decision for a young player. Let's talk a little bit about though. Once that decision is made, let's imagine though he's decided, okay, I'm going to go to Maryland. Where does Jacquille Veii fit at Maryland?
I mean, I think immediately you talk about kick returning and punt returning. He's definitely great at both of those things, and Maryland definitely needs a secondary guy behind Stephon to do that. I mean, obviously he plays so much in so many different facets that they're going to need another punt and kick returner. And I also think you have to talk about secondary. I know Maryland has recruited him to be a cornerback, and Maryland's thin in that position, and they're definitely going to need more cornerbacks this year. And I think his first year starting off, he provides some depth. And after that, he's going to have a good playing time right away. Maybe his second year, I would say probably a good time of playing time.
Want to thank Fox Sports for the retweet. Remember, if you want to see your comments or have them shout out on the show here during our broadcast, just hashtag it DMVStream. We are monitoring the thread. All right, so let's talk a little bit, though, Brandon, about, okay, we've sort of projected where he fits at Maryland. Let's talk a little bit about Iowa. I mean, if you're in the mind of Jacquille Veii, if you can try to be there as a recruiting expert, let's think about, okay, where do I fit best? Now, we've talked about Maryland. Let's imagine it's Iowa. Why would it be Iowa?
I mean, I talked to Jacquille earlier in the year, and he told me then that he really would love to play on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's the one thing Iowa has over the other 2 schools is they offer him that opportunity to play some on the offensive side of the ball. He could maybe play some slot receiver, some running back. He can play a few things at Iowa, and I think that's the appeal there is that he can play more than one position at Iowa, whereas Nebraska and Maryland really primarily want him to play in special teams and at quarterback.
All right, great. So we were very lucky today. If anybody got a chance to read the story by Brandon Parker in the Washington Post, it talked a little bit, or a lot rather, about how these 2 big-time prospects in Rashid Ibrahim and also in Jacquille Veii ended up here at Avalon. We have the former coach, Jerry Sargent, who is now at Pope John Paul the Great in Woodbridge. Got an offer he couldn't refuse to go over there. Is now back here for the big day, for the big moment. He helped really, put Avalon on the map with these 2 guys. So let's start with how did these 2 guys end up here? The short of it. I mean, how do you get 2 guys, 2 big-time prospects to come to Avalon?
Well, the first was Rashid, and he really he changed it by taking a risk. He wanted to go to one of the more prominent Catholic schools, DeMath or Good Counsel, and that kind of fell through. And so I just made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And I told him, that he would have the opportunity to be the man both sides of the football, and his successes helped bring Jacquille in. So Rashid recruited Jacquille after I recruited Rashid.
So Brandon is our recruiting expert, does a lot of great work in the area. Brandon, you've seen all the WCAC kids and schools. You've been around those programs for quite a while. What's the difference between these guys and those guys? I don't see it.
I don't see it either, honestly. I think both of these guys could step into a DeMath or a Good Counsel and play right away on either side of the ball. You look at Jacquille compares favorably to me as a guy like Kurt Gardner, very similar players, and you see they blew up early in the season because of where they play, and you see these guys blowing up later in the season because of where they play.
Want to thank at at NEBFan2 for chiming in on Twitter on our hashtag DMVStream. Says, can't wait to see who he picks. The 3 schools, you can't go wrong. All right, Coach, let's talk a little bit about what makes Jacquille special. We were talking before the broadcast when we got a chance to meet, and you told me a story about his first game at Avalon and how he kind of, on the defensive side of the ball, sniffed out something. It showed you just how smart he was on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it was a broken play. He was playing cornerback, and rather than come up and make the tackle on the quarterback or force him to choose run or pass, he waited, and the receiver, he held off about 5 or 6 yards, and then once the quarterback committed, he broke on it, and it was right in front of me, and I knew right then he was a D1 player. From the speed of the break to the interception, it just wowed me. I had no words.
Yeah, and a lot has been made about his speed, 4.3, 4.26, whatever that may be. Let's talk a little bit about some of the special things you've seen him do as a player because of that speed.
Well, I think it's not just flat rate speed, it's the ability to stop and start and accelerate, get to his top speed within a short amount of distance. Just absolutely unreal that very few kids I've coached in my 10 years have been able to do that.
All right, Brandon, 4.26 speed, 4.3 speed, whatever that may be. I'm sure Jacquille will tell you he's 4.26. What does that mean for a recruit? I mean, instantly you jump onto the national scene.
Obviously, I mean, 40 times are so analyzed nowadays. You see that 40 time at a 4.3, and coaches are automatically going to stop and say, wow, that's something I got to look at.
All right, if you're starting to hear some noise, we have some fans and some of the people from the school. It's a school of only 100. They're all here, so you'll hear them cheering in the background. It's a really exciting day for this small school here in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I want to thank Jerry Sargent for joining us, and also, for the great work he's done for local high school sports and putting guys like Jacquille Veii and Rashid, in the spotlight today, and continuing to do that great work at Pope John Paul. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, I'll take that. Thanks. All right, so we are just moments away from the big decision, Brian. If you want to get a shot of the podium of the guys up at the top, if we're already there, we're going to be getting the decision momentarily. Brandon, why don't you, while I'm up for a moment, just tell the folks at home a little bit more about some of the things you learned about Jacquille when you interviewed him.
Well, when I talked to Jacquille earlier this year, the first thing that jumped out at me was how smart of a kid he was. I mean, he's lived everywhere. He's lived in England. He's lived in the Caribbean. He's lived 4 or 5 different places. He's moved around, and he has a more worldly perspective than most kids you talk to at the high school level. I mean, he really has got a good head on his shoulders. And I think today, the one thing I really look for is he's going to make the decision that's best for him. And I think he really knows what's best for him, as opposed to a lot of these high school recruits might not know exactly what the best thing for them is, but he's had so many life experiences. I think he really does know what the right decision is for him today. Okay,
Brian, if you can hear me, Brian Decker. So what I'd like to do is actually show the folks at home some of the technology. We're just a couple of minutes from this. Let's go to our live stream promo and show the folks at home. We did this last year with a recruit from Centerville High School, ended up picking the Hokies. Ken Ekanem. Let's show them how we do this, Brian, and then we'll come back to the live stream. We're just a few minutes away, folks. Stick with us at DMVSTREAM.com.
So part of the new technology that we've been rolling out here at Synthesis is live streaming. We'll go on site. We'll actually set up our cameras, we'll set up a feed, and we'll beam that to our clients. One of their clients being WashingtonPost.com, one of our more recent projects. We actually live streamed a high school football player's decision as to where he was going to go play college football. We went early, we did a dry run, we did a walkthrough, we hooked up to their internet, we created the stream, and we pumped that to back at WashingtonPost.com, where they broadcast that signal to thousands of people that were interested in watching that content. It was a very successful first few steps into live programming for major media organizations. We'll continue exploring it as we are now going out and doing live high school sporting events, college sporting events. We're also doing stuff for some of our private clients over at universities, streaming, lectures, all kinds of stuff that this new live programming technology will allow us to continue to make new steps in the multimedia world.
All right, so we're back here live at Avalon in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We've got Thanks, Coach. Tad Shields with us here. He will be joining us for an interview afterwards. Tad, of course, helping to put the Avalon School on the map. We'll probably walk right back through here again, so that's okay. It's a tight quarters here. About 100 kids in the entire school. It's a small school. Jacquille Veii and Rashid Ibrahim. Going to be announcing as well. We already know he's going to Pittsburgh, but making that choice to come to a small school in an area, Brandon, in the DMV that, you got just programs that are just huge on the map, on the national recruiting landscape. Also Jacquille also making the decision to come to such a small school and risk that recruiting stock, so to speak, if you could say that about a 16-year-old, but I guess nowadays we can. Now moments away from the biggest decision of their young lives, they did make that work, Brandon. They did take an opportunity here at a small school and get to that next level. If you're just tuning in, we're at DMVSTREAM.com is the hashtag. We've got a bunch of media joining us as well. We want to thank you for joining us. If you want to hear your voice or if you want to hear and see your quotes on this show, hashtag it DMVStream and we'll shout those out to you. All right, Brandon, so for those of the people just tuning in, let's talk a little bit about where Jacquille Veii fits. We've done it earlier, but we have some new traffic now just as we're coming up on the 11:30 decision. Why does Jacquille Veii, we'll do this for all three of the schools, which are Iowa, Maryland, and Nebraska, why does Jacquille Veii fit at Maryland?
At Maryland, he fits right away at special teams. You have to talk about kick and punt returning. He's going to provide that spark. We already have that with Stephon Diggs, obviously, but you definitely need a secondary player back there, especially on kick returns, to help out with that. And then you also have to talk about in the secondary, he provides that 4-3 speed that we talked about, and in the secondary, that's super important, especially in the ACC when you have so many athletes.
I want to thank at Nebraska Cody. He's saying, Husker Nation, baby, let's go. You can hashtag DMVStream, and we'll give you the shout out here on our live broadcast. We have folks tuning in from all over the country. Really, actually, if you look at the back end, some of the numbers I can see all over the world. There are Huskers fans all over the world, Terps fans and Iowa fans all over the world. This has just gotten interesting, folks. For the last couple of weeks, Jacquille Veii was down to he had whittled his 13 scholarship offers down to Iowa and Maryland. Nebraska came in the last 2 weeks here and offered, so that makes things interesting. We just talked about the Terps, which, by the way, are having a great day today in terms of the recruits that they're getting. We continue to see Mike Loxley in full effect. Let's talk a little bit, though, Brandon. If he were to choose Iowa, why would that be a good fit for Jacquille?
Like I said, the athlete part of his background is he can play everywhere. He can play at Iowa. He can play at slot. He can play a little bit at running back. He can play a little bit at corner. He can play punt and kick return. Iowa has told him that they're willing to try him out at wherever he feels more comfortable, whereas the other schools have said mostly special teams and secondary is where they're looking at him. Okay,
so if that's the case, and some of the schools are saying, hey, we'll play everywhere, maybe they're just telling him what he wants to hear, if it's not the case, and he does get that opportunity at some of the other schools, why would he go to Nebraska? Why would he take that risk and maybe not get the opportunities he wants?
I think more than anything, it's the prestige that comes along with the Nebraska football name. For a long time, Nebraska was one of the top 5 schools in the country every year, and when Nebraska comes calling, you've got to listen.
Sure.
You don't get offers like that every day. They've finally tried to work their way into this area lately, especially at Quince Orchard with John Papuchis. He was a former grad of Quince Orchard, so they've finally been working their way into this area lately, and Jacquille is just the next string in that.
All right, so I have a special request from a special friend. Alex Pruitt is the Terps insider at WashingtonPost.com. He does a great job covering the Terps and, of course, is intently watching our broadcast, not so much for the decision, really to hear me talk. I want to give the shout-out to Alex Pruitt. They are calling for silence here, and we will go to the podium where the headmaster is speaking here live.
Welcome, everyone, parents, students, teachers, friends of the Avalon School, to the first signing day ceremony we've had in the school's 10-year history. Today is a great day, not just for Rashid Ibrahim, Jacquille Veii, and Tommy Vince, but for the entire Avalon community. Socrates said that education is the kindling of a flame rather than the filling of a vessel. Centuries later, Irish poet William Butler Yeats said that education is the lighting of a fire, not the filling of a pail. One of the great fathers of the church, St. Irenaeus of Lyon, said that the glory of God is man fully alive. These are ways of pointing out that the endeavor of education and of schooling does not mean simply filling the passive minds of well-fed adolescents with facts and ideologies, but helping young men and women, young men in the case of the Avalon School, of course, develop themselves. And that, and life in general, is a great drama and adventure. Now today we celebrate the achievements of 3 young men, football players and students, who have truly begun just that, to exert themselves, to develop the gifts they've been given. Sports provide a particularly vivid illustration of the drama of life, of developing one's gifts, of the tension between what one ought to be and what one is right now. And so does academic work. All Avalonians, all of us, are proud of these 3 well-rounded young men, Rashid Ibrahim, Jacquille Veii, and Tommy Vince, and look forward to what they're going to accomplish at the next stage of their lives. So now I'd like to introduce the coach, Mr. Tad Shields.
Thanks, Kevin. Like you said, today is a great day. And it's a great day because we're here together to recognize 3 of our own. Now, at this time, I'd like you 3 gentlemen to come, young men, pardon me, to come up. Tommy Vince, Rashid Ibrahim, and Jacquille Veii. Please come up. Have a seat, gentlemen, have a seat. Okay, now, the reason I feel that this is such a great day is because I get to talk about how these 3 young men have achieved a dream. And you don't get to talk about that every day, and I hope everybody here has an opportunity to achieve their dreams. Their dream was the ability to go on to college, get their college paid for, mostly or entirely, have the opportunity to play the game that they love, football, while they're going to college. And today that dream is going to be realized. But, like achieving any dream, it's not easy. They have to do it in the classroom, in the weight room, and finally on the field. They had to set their goals, dedicate themselves to achieving the goals, make sacrifices along the way, and even then they couldn't achieve their goals without the help of the teachers, the coaches, and their teammates. So at this time, I'd like the Avalon football team, the Avalon teaching staff, and the assistant coaches to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. Now, gentlemen, having said all that, speaking to you now, you realize that you have the opportunity to go and play at the next level. This is just a single step. You've achieved one dream. It's not a lifetime achievement. This only provides you the opportunity. It's up to you to set your new goals Go through the process again, dedicate yourself to those goals, and don't let anything deter you from achieving your goals. Knowing you, I know you'll be up to the task. Okay, so let's do what we're here to do. Go ahead and pick up your pens and sign your papers, if you would, please. What they're doing now is they're signing their letters of intent or their scholarship offers to the respective colleges. In just a minute, we'll find out which of those colleges they are, okay? All right, first off, you know what, before we do this, I want to mention this. For those of you that weren't at our football banquet, we took an unusual opportunity to retire a couple jerseys. And Mr. Bogart's Furniture was kind enough to give us a frame, and we had this done up for Rashid and Jacquille. She told me after a game, "Man, Coach, my jersey's getting ripped up. You're going to need to get a new number 3. And I just thought to myself, well, no, I think we'll take care of that in another way. So we retired it, and there won't be any other Avalon football players wearing numbers 3 and 5. Okay. Tommy Vince. Come on up here, Tommy. Tommy was a 4-year starter at Avalon. He played through the losing seasons. He played through the championship seasons. Tommy was accepted to attend and play football at Rose-Hulman, Dayton, Catholic University, and probably a couple others, right? All these schools, while fine academic institutions, are what we in the football world call non-scholarship schools. All that means is they don't give out, they don't award athletic scholarships. However, through his achievements in the classroom, Tommy has earned 3 different merit scholarships. Tommy, where will you be attending college in the fall? Tell me.
Well, moving around my whole life, I've learned to keep the important things close to me. I live by the 4 F's: faith, family, friends, and football, in that order. I'd like to thank all my coaches and people that have helped me through this process. And I'm proud to announce I'm going to play at the Catholic University of America next year.
I know you're going to play football. What are you going to study while you're there?
I'll be studying civil engineering and architecture.
Beautiful. Great. Good. Next up, Rashid, come on up. Avalon football turned a corner when Rashid decided to come to Avalon. And as much or more than just his athletic ability, he helped turn the program around with his attitude and leadership. That was as important as any of the yards or tackles that he made. So he helped this program in ways that you could never measure. Rashid has received football scholarship offers to East Carolina, Ohio U, Boston College, Iowa, and the University of Pittsburgh. And probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 others that I didn't mention. Anyhow, where are you going to go play football in the fall, Rashid?
As you can see, I decided to attend the University of Pittsburgh. But I just want to say thank you to the Avalon family for taking me in. when I decided to transfer out of Richard Montgomery my freshman year. I really couldn't have done it without anybody. I want to thank God most importantly, but I really want to thank the Avalon family, the administration, the teachers for helping me through my 4 years here, and all my friends and family who've pushed me to achieve this goal. So just thank you very much.
Thanks, Rashid. Do you know what you're going to study at, there is a classroom component to this.
Oh, yeah, of course. I plan to study business at the University of Pittsburgh.
All right, great. Okay, now, lastly, but certainly not least, Jacquille Veii. Jacquille? If we turned the corner when Rashid came to Avalon, then when Jacquille decided to come, we were heading down the home stretch. Jacquille's junior year, he scored a ridiculous 18 touchdowns while only touching the ball 56 times, which I think is a remarkable statistic. It kind of reminds me of the old joke. Who can keep Jacquille out of the end zone? 18 touchdowns, 56 touches? Well, the answer to that's the only one that can keep him out of the end zone is Coach Shields. He never gives him the ball. So anyhow, Jacquille received scholarships from Old Dominion, Boston College, Ohio U, Maryland, Iowa, and Nebraska. He's had a hard time deciding where he wants to go and matriculate. So go ahead and make a choice. Let us all know.
Well, this has been a dream come true, but first off, I just want to say thank you. First off to God. I have very strong faith and belief in him. I want to have a very, very special thank you to Mr. Hawley, because without him, I probably wouldn't be up here right now. But I want to say thank you to all my teammates. Thank you to everybody in the Avalon family for supporting me. On my visit, I had a great time in Nebraska, I had a great time at Iowa, and I had a great time at Maryland as well. My goals and my aspirations, I want to win championships, and I also want to win bowl games as well. And obviously, the best place to do it would be, the better opportunity would be, I think I'm gonna stay home.
Wow.
And play football. Let's go, Maryland. Let's go, Maryland. Let's go, Maryland.
All right, that's all I've got. That's it. I can't top it. The only other thing, we got 3 highly successful young men here who achieved their dreams, and we got a whole football team of, I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. What are you going to study?
I'm going to study broadcasting at Maryland.
Very good, thank you. All right, now, as I was saying, we got 3 of the football players that achieved their dreams this year. I've got 33 more on the football team. There's no reason you guys can't get up here too, okay? Next year, it's your turn to shine, okay? So good luck, gentlemen. Work hard. You can all achieve your dreams. Thanks.
Stay with us, folks. Jacquille Veii has just selected to stay home at Maryland. Stay with us. We are going to get an interview with him after this ceremony wraps up. Thanks for hanging with us here at DMVSTREAM.com.
Let's have another round of applause for these 3 young men. Congratulations to you. All right, now it's time for you to resume the academic day, which will actually begin with lunch right now. If you are in Carroll House, you may go to lunch first.
Okay, folks, Jacquille Veii coming to join us here just a moment to talk about the big decision. Thanks for joining us at DMVSTREAM.com. If you want to get in on the conversation on Twitter, it's hashtag DMVStream. He's just shaking a few hands now. Everybody wants a piece of him, so we will get him in just a moment.
Okay,
Brandon,
Stewart
let's
House.
talk a little bit about that decision. Why do you think it was a good one? Obviously, you're a Terps guy, so if you could just walk us through. We talked a little bit about before where he fits. Why do you think, and we'll find out from him in a moment, why do you think you picked the Terps?
I mean, obviously, I think the biggest thing is playing time. I think he stands the best time of going into Terps, playing right away. I mean, he can go in this season and see playing time with the Terps, as with Iowa and Cornhuskers, I don't know if he was going to get that.
Jacquille just shaking a few hands. He's going to sit with us for just a moment and walk us through his decision. Hey, congratulations. First of all, I want to thank you for having us here at Avalon today. Big moment for you. I know it's been a tough one. I know it's been a long road. Obviously, you're going to Maryland.
Yes, sir.
So you've made that decision now. Let's talk a little bit, and let's go backwards for a moment. We'll get to the now and the hat that you're wearing. But you decided Maryland before, and obviously there were some issues. You pulled back.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that. That must not have been easy for you.
No, definitely wasn't easy. But God has a plan for everybody, and that's just the road I had to go to get here.
Okay. So once that happened, and once you reopened your recruitment, let's talk a little bit about some of the looks you got, some of the conversations you had. Obviously, Iowa rose high on your list. Why did Iowa rise so high on your list?
Just because the coaching staff. The coaching staff there is great. They're really great people. Coach Wilson, he's a great person. He's a great coach as well. And Coach Ferentz, he's a great coach. And he's also a very, very nice person. And just the whole family feel that I got from Iowa, it was great. That's why they rose high on my board.
We're here with Jacquille Veii live at DMVStream.com. He just chose the Terps. Before we get to your decision and playing at Maryland, nearby here in College Park, Nebraska swooped in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I take full credit for this after announcing that we were going to do your decision live. I'm kidding. But obviously they get in the game, and that's a complete game changer. You cancel a visit to College Park.
Yeah.
You have Randy Edsall here the day before trying to convince you to stay home.
Yeah.
Everybody's freaking out. All the Terps are like, where's he going? What is he doing? That's got to be a tough couple of hours for you there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that last week running up to this and the visit to Nebraska.
Oh, the week running up to this was crazy. I mean, I came home. I was just sitting in my friend's car, and then I got a call from a coach saying that Nebraska wanted to talk to me. Called Nebraska, and they offered me right there. And the visit was great. I had a great time. I felt really at home at Nebraska, and I felt, and the players there, they were awesome, and the fans there, they speak for themselves. It's a great tradition. It's a great program, but I just felt like the best place for me in my heart was to be here and stay home and play.
Okay, so we're here now. We're future Teds. You are at Maryland. You're going to stay home. Brandon does a lot of the recruiting stuff for us at DMVStream.com. Obviously, you got a chance to meet him quite a while ago, and Brandon was big and instrumental in making this happen today. But Brandon, you handle the football stuff with him now. You know that team better than anybody. Talk a little bit with Jacquille about guhere he fits in terms of on the field and some of the opportunities he may get early and maybe later.
I mean, have you talked to Coach Edsall yet about where you guys are going to have you play? Or
Yeah, they're looking at me as a defensive back.
Have you talked at all about special teams or anything like that?
Definitely with Coach Powell. I know they saw what I ran at the camp, the one-day camp. So they're thinking about sticking me back there, me, Stephon, and Dion Long back there, and just going to terrorize kickoff teams.
And then, did that secondary situation, obviously, they lost a lot of guys this year. They don't have a lot of guys back there. Did that impact your decision, the immediate possibility of playing time?
Yeah, definitely, because I want to go out there and compete from day one and get on the field and contribute right away. And that's what I want to do.
All right, Jacquille, obviously, a big day for you here today. But let's go backwards again and talk about how we got here. Obviously we know now you're going to Maryland, but you know, it was a rough road for you there. I mean, you decided to leave Richard Montgomery, and you come here to a school. I read Brandon Parker's piece in the Washington Post today. It was a heck of a read. If you want to know more about this young man and what he's been through to get to this point, you can read that story. But you left a public school to come to a highly religious school in Gaithersburg that has, I don't know, 100 kids, 40 of which I believe play football. Nobody's ever come out of this school. Obviously, you and Rashid put this place on the map, but let's talk about a 15, 16-year-old kid taking his recruiting stock in his own hand, and maybe what a lot of people thought you did was throw it out the window. How difficult of a decision was it to come here, and truthfully, why did you end up here?
It was very hard for me because I was taking a risk because, you know, nothing's guaranteed. But I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to achieve. So I just dove in, both feet in.
If you want to get a chance to get a shout out here during our live broadcast, the hashtag is DMVStream. We are monitoring the feed. So we are just about to wrap up here with Jacquille. There's a lot of media folks that want to get a chance to speak with him. Future broadcast major in College Park. When you're ready to get working, man,
yes,
give us a call. You did a great job today.
Thank
All right,
you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, if you want to head
to
Rashid over here, we will grab Rashid. Rashid? All right, he's got that Pittsburgh hat on, comfortable. I don't think his decision was not in question today wearing this shirt. So, okay. You know, Rashid, Jacquille got a lot of the hype right now because he was undecided.
Yeah, definitely.
Hadn't, you know, and that was the interesting thing. Was like, well, we don't know where this guy's going. You know, you got a lot of media here. College Park is in the mix. But the truth is, you might be one of the most influential people in him ending up at Maryland than anybody because of your risk to come to Avalon. You mentioned it a little bit during the ceremony. How did you end up at a school of 100 boys that had never been on the football map ever? And we, you know, Brandon had talked with me a little bit early, Brandon, our recruiting insider, about some of the WCAC schools that were in the mix. What happened there, and how'd you end up here?
You know, I was, of course, coming out of 8th grade, I was looking to go to a big school like, you know, Good Counsel, DeMatha, and they were all recruiting me coming out of 8th grade and things like that. And obviously that didn't work out. So I went over to Richard Montgomery for my freshman year and did that over there for a year. But I was still planning to transfer out to one of those schools in the springtime after my freshman year at Avalon. And then Avalon came in the mix too, and a couple smaller schools, Landon, schools like that. Not as big as Good Counsel, of course, or DeMatha's, but they were recruiting me, and I wasn't too hot about that, you know. But, you know, I took a chance. Coach Archett at the time was the coach, and he was recruiting me, Coach Brian, Coach O'Daniel. So I took a chance, and I just, you know, during the summer I was still undecided. I didn't know where I want to go to school, you know. And then the DeMatha's kind of fell through and things like that. And then my mom was pushing me to go to, it was going to be either Good Counsel or here. And my mom was pushing me to go here a lot, you know. She really liked it.
Right.
She said, you know, they were small, you know, I'd be able to focus on my academics and things like that. So, you know, I wasn't too hot about it at the beginning. I was like, you know, man, dude, I don't know Avalon. Nobody knows Avalon.
I heard she had to push you a little bit in the right direction.
Oh, yeah, she steered me in the right way.
So, speaking of getting steered in the right way, Brandon, as Brandon takes over the football side of things, and I'll just get kick-started with, you know, why Pittsburgh? I mean, where do you fit at Pittsburgh? And I had read somewhere that Penn State was a school that you really wanted to be at, and there were obviously the sanctions and the issues there. But Pittsburgh, I mean, what makes you end up there?
You know, Pittsburgh came in this last spring. Coach Ingram, our recruiting coach, came to the school and was recruiting us. But I wasn't too hot about it, actually, you know, going into the summer.
Let me guess, your mom stepped in and said, I'm kidding. No, go ahead.
You know, she was really open about my recruitment.
Sure.
You know, she whatever school I liked, she was, of course, in that direction. But during the summer, I didn't worry about Pittsburgh until come August, right when we were about to go into a tour days. Coach Shields called me and was like, yeah, Pittsburgh wants to offer you if you come up on a visit. And I was like, you know, I was already down to 2 schools. I was like Boston College or Iowa. And then I was like, I'm not too sure about it. But I actually went up there and took a visit. Coach O'Daniel took me and Jacquille up and a couple other players, and I loved it up there. I had a great time with the coaches. I really developed a really good relationship with Coach Ingram, and I met Coach Chris, and he was just a great guy. And I was like, oh, you know, I might want to play for a guy like him.
Right.
You know, he did some great things at Wisconsin, and they were doing some great things here. You know, you could just tell that the direction in which the program was going was just upward, and it was really a positive vibe.
how much is the history of having such great running backs at Pittsburgh? I mean, how did that play into your decision at all?
I think that's a great thing. I don't think it played that much of a role. I know they had, the Tony Dorsetts and the Dion Lewis and LaShawn McCoys and all of them that played in the NFL and things like that, Heisman winners. I think that was a great thing about the program as well. But, at the same time, I wanted something to be great for Rashid Ibrahim. So at the time, I was like, okay, those are great running backs, but still I was undecided. But it was really, I fell in love with the environment and the coaches, and that's really what triggered me to make a commitment to Pittsburgh back in November.
Well, congratulations. It looks like you've made a great decision, and they'll miss the local here, guys. He's a little bitter. He'll miss you in College Park. But, congratulations on a great day and taking a big risk and seeing it play out the way you want it.
Definitely. Thanks
Congratulations.
a lot.
All right, man.
Take care.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we are going to try to potentially grab a coach interview. Hey, Coach, come on over. I'll give you this. Okay, Coach, big day here. You can take a deep breath. Your phone will finally calm down a little bit. I'm sure it's been ringing off the hook, especially in the last couple weeks here with the Nebraska stuff. We'll get to that in a moment. Well, we talked, and there was a story today by Brandon Parker on the Washington Post, and you mentioned a lot of it up at the podium, as did your headmaster. This is a small school in Gaithersburg of about 100 boys.
Well, the high school is 100 boys.
Okay, the high school. How do two Division I studs make it from this school, and what does that do for your program moving forward?
Well, I think it's clearly the coaching. Only kidding. No, how do they do it? It's the character of the kids. It's the quality of the kids. They work hard. They set their goals, like I said. They weren't going to be denied. They just, they did the combines and the 7-on-7s and the university camps. And there's a playmaker. Let me put a plug in for playmaker recruiting, who is a kind of a talent scout, if you will, for colleges that's out of Annapolis. They helped them out. And, the bottom line is the first thing that the coaches are going to look at is game tape. And if you can't perform on the field, then, you're not going to get a second thought. So they produced on the field, and then that got the ball rolling.
Talk about production on the field, and we'll get to Brandon for the collegiate level stuff in a moment. He knows the Terps better than anybody. But, at the high school level, special kids. Can you share with us some of the things that you saw out of them early and seen their development that might make them obviously great players? Stuff aside from the 4.26 or 4.3 speed out of Jacquille and the strength from Rashid. I mean, what are the things that are going to make them great at the next level?
Yeah, the biggest thing is work ethic. Okay, every kid that's getting a scholarship offer today is a great high school football player. And what's going to separate them at the next level is who's going to work and improve, and who's going to, stay where they're at, who's going to stagnate. So these two kids are not afraid of hard work. So they're going to get in the weight room, get on the training table. They're going to do what's necessary to continue to make themselves better players. Now, as far as what their special talents are, so forth, I got to say this. When I watch Rashid run, I'm really going to miss having him in the backfield, because he has a running style like the great runners in history. I mean, he just has that style, and he knows when to turn it on, and guys can't get angles on him that you think could, and it's just remarkable. And I hope he gets a good shot at playing some running back at the next level. I know colleges are in great need of D-backs, and both these kids can play in the defensive backfield. So, it'll be up to their coaches and them, of course. But that's my 2 cents on the matter.
Where do you think Jacquille fits in right away at Maryland?
Well, that's a better question for the Maryland coaching staff. They know their personnel better than I do. From what I understand, they're stacked at the slot and wide receiver position. So my guess is, just being a fan like you guys, probably not even as knowledgeable as you, is they probably have a greater need in the defensive backfield. So, that would be my guess.
I mean, he talked about special teams. I mean, what have you seen at the special teams part of his game?
Jacquille is just electric with a football. I mean, he has he's great in the open field. He can be a great return man. I don't think there's any question about that.
We talked briefly about the school and now moving forward. You mentioned there's some other guys here sort of waiting in the wings for their moment, and you've gotten some calls about them. Let's talk about now Avalon being on the map, Coach, and sort of moving forward from a big day like today.
Well, it's great we're on the map. Okay, it's great that coaches, college coaches know who I am now, at least, because they may forget in a week, but at least we have a reference point now going forward. Division I scholarships are so rare. I mean, it's less than 0.2% of all qualifying or high school football seniors are getting D1 scholarships. It's 0.2%. So that's really rare. And for a little school like us to be blessed with 2 kids like that is I don't know. I don't know how it happened. Don't ask me. It's just hard work on everybody's part and circumstance maybe. I don't know. But now, I'm hoping that some of the kids we've got are up to the task, and maybe this will help inspire them.
Well, certainly want to thank you for having us out, Coach. You guys have been great to work with here at the Avalon School. I really do appreciate you letting us be here today, and congratulations on the big day for you and the school.
Thanks for covering it.
All right, you got it. Thanks. I'll take that. Thanks.
Thank you, Coach.
We're going to be bringing on Brandon Parker of the Washington Post. If you follow the local media here, if you're tuning in from the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, you obviously follow the coverage of the Washington Post. If you're tuning in from anywhere over from the country, really, you've probably been tracking Brandon's stories and updates over the last 2 weeks about Jacquille Veii, a guy that personally I like to say that I discovered. I'm giving zero credit to either of the Brandons, though Brandon hand-delivered him to us for this moment. And this Brandon over here has done a fantastic job reporting on him. If you didn't get a chance to read the feature at Washington Post and allmetsports.com, Brandon really pulled back the curtain on how this happened. This is a very small school. This is a very religious place. This is a very we're in a church right now, if anybody can't see that. So, kind of a unique situation, and I really enjoyed the read. So nice work there, Brandon. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's do some of that history real quick before we get to the obvious Terps and all that kind of stuff. Tell us, you got a chance to speak with Rashid and also Jacquille in the lead up to this week. Let's talk a little bit about some of the emotions they were experiencing. These are 17-year-old kids. And these are, big moments here on signing day to prep for and be nervous about. What feel did you get when you were working with these guys and writing that story about who they are and where they might end up?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is they are high character guys. Last week was my first time meeting them, and that just came off immediately. These guys have their head on straight. They're well-spoken. They know they have goals, and they know how to achieve them. So I think that, we speak about them coming from a program with next to no football roots. I think that speaks to how they reach that point because, again, if you're focused, you know what you want to do, you can rise above whatever those circumstances are. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think it really played a role with these guys. So that's the first thing that stuck out to me. And just, again, you look at the stat sheet, what Rashid was able to do with 1,800 yards as a sophomore, and he kept that consistently going. And then Coach Shields talked about with Jacquille having, I think he said 18 touchdowns on 56 touches.
Right.
That's every 3 times you touch the ball, you score. That's ridiculous. So, again, you say, okay, they did that against nobody. But, their competition still had nothing to do with these guys' skills because when they went to the combines, they still were successful.
And we just talked with Coach, and he talked about the combines, and I want to bring in Brandon real quick over here. Brandon Roth is our recruiting insider at DMVSTREAM.com. Real quick, want to mention, Brandon does a weekly show Wednesdays at 8 p.m. called Recruiting Insider Live with Brandon Roth. It's live at DMVSTREAM.com. Has done a bunch of work with these two guys over the last couple weeks leading up to this. Coach talked about the combines. There was a big moment for Jacquille at Maryland. Brandon wrote about it in his story. You also had some take on that, on the 40 that he ran and turning those heads. But from a recruiting aspect, Brandon, the camps and the combines, you got to do them nowadays. Let's talk a little bit about how these two guys that come from a school no one has ever heard of used that, as Coach said, they would not be denied. They used that to get to this moment. Talk about that.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at these guys, especially like you've talked about multiple times, coming from such a small school that doesn't get a lot of attention. They really use the circuit to their advantage. I mean, they went all over the place. They went to every camp on the East Coast almost, and that really at least got their foot in the door, so to say, where coaches looked at them and realized, man, that's a kid maybe I want to look at it further, because they see him at a camp and competing with some of the higher level competition and doing just as well as some of these other kids like you see from DeMatha and Good Counsel.
Well, as we talk to our friend Brandon Parker from the Washington Post, I want to make one quick moment, and if we could get Tommy Vince over here as well, I want to try to get Tommy on. Brian, if you want to grab him. I want to make a quick correction earlier. I gave the shout out to the Washington Post Alex Pruitt for Terps Insider. I should have given that shout out to Matt Bonesteel, who is the Terps managing that at WashingtonPost.com. So we're with a postie here in Brandon. You've done a great job covering these two guys. Obviously, the big decision today. Let's talk a little bit about recruiting as a whole in the area, but these moments themselves. You wrote about it in your story, the hysteria of National Signing Day.
Yeah.
You've covered some other stuff and spoken to some other recruits across the way. You know, what are we building here in terms of these big moments?
Well, I mean, it's you turn on ESPNU, you see, like, again, it's a huge, I don't know, national high school holiday that it's become. But I mean, again, it's a special moment for these guys. Like, they put in the work for these 4 years, and they have a chance to kind of celebrate that they're going to move on to the next level. Will all of them succeed in the same way they did in high school? No. But that's not to say that, you know, we always talk about the basketball talent, but there's great talent in football in this area too. Like, I was just over at Good Counsel before this, and they had 8 guys signing.
Just 8 this year.
Yeah, just 8. Yeah.
Bit of a down year
for Good Counsel. But they had guys, obviously Kendall Fuller going to Virginia Tech. They had 3 guys going to UVA.
Dorian O'Daniel, his grandfather was here running around with a Clemson sweatshirt on. That's great.
And they had a guy going to Harvard too. So I mean, that just speaks to not only the football talent, but just how well-rounded these guys are. And again, it's a special moment, and it speaks to the hard work that they've put in.
All right, speaking of hard work, this guy is one of the hardest workers in the local media here in the DMV. If you want to check out his work, it's at allmedsports.com. He runs Morning Letters is that correct?
Right, blog posts every morning.
Posts about all the local recruits and where they're going. So, you know, congrats on all the great work you've done this week leading up to it. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, my man.
All right, you got it.
Have a good one.
I'll take that. Thanks, man. All right, so I wanted to try to grab Tommy Vince if we could. Tommy just also made his decision known, going to the Catholic University of America. Congratulations on a big day for you, sir.
Thanks, man.
You know, big moment for you. Let's talk about it a little bit. I could tell you were a little emotional up there. You were fighting them back a little bit, right? But a big moment. You know, Mom's here, and you know, you're supported by friends and family in the room. Let's talk a little bit about why you chosen to stay home.
Okay. Well, this year my family's actually moving to California, and you know, I've moved around a lot of times over the years. The most I've lived places is 2 years.
Wow.
And then I moved here in 5th grade, and my dad was able to stay. He retired from the Navy. You know, and I really just grew in faith and found a community here at Avalon, and our sister school's Brookwood. You know, my mom's running Brookwood, and I've been at Avalon for years. I've played football at Avalon for 7 years now, and Catholics moving on to, so from there to Catholic, moving on to Catholic. It was a great institution. I love the coaches there, love the team, and it was just everything kind of fit. I looked all over the country. I applied to 15 schools for football and non-football. I drove to Indiana, to Rolls-Holman. I went to University of Dayton in Ohio. I went up the East Coast. I went down the East Coast. And, you know, the right school for me was right in my backyard.
Well, so you definitely did your homework in finding the right place for you. And ironically, you are staying local, and your parents are leaving. It's the other way around, right?
Yeah, my dad
Empty nest syndrome for you at your house.
My dad actually had a joke that, so next year you're going off to college, right? And I go, yeah, I guess. He goes, wait, no. we're leaving and you're going to stay here and go to college. And I was like, I guess so.
Well, maybe you can take them some groceries every now and then across the coast, so they might need your help there. Okay, so obviously you were determined to play at the next level. That's no secret as you drove the East Coast all over looking for that place, for that fit. Catholic is a good fit for you, and it looks like obviously you're going to be playing there. But let's talk a little bit though about the other two guys here today too, because I want to know from your perspective as a teammate looking to play at that next level, and Brendan can talk about this too in terms of the recruiting stuff that happens. You get a little overflow, don't you? You get a few coaches that come in, they look at these guys, maybe they catch some Tommy Vince tape or see out there on the field. Is any of that starting to happen? Do you see that happening, maybe not so much with yourself, but also with some other guys here at Avalon?
Some other guys. Yeah, Rashid and Jacquille, when they came, I mean, no coaches came. No one went even D3, D1, right. I mean, for football. And when they came, coaches would call. They went out to camps. I mean, they went everywhere, too. They went to Atlanta, Florida, Pennsylvania. Wow. So they really sold themselves, but they're raw talent. They definitely helped Avalon out. And, no, it's been a great ride. I mean, I played for Avalon when we went 2-9, and we beat the two worst teams in the state of Maryland. And then they came along, our team just grew as one. Yeah, we have coaches flowing in here now and again. Randy Edsel was here a couple days ago, which was funny, and some Iowa coaches. So
Tommy Vince laid some groundwork here at Avalon for some of these guys in the future that will see that success as well. I want to wish you the best of luck at Catholic, and I'm sure we'll be hearing your name again.
Thank you.
I'll take that. Thanks, man. All right, so congratulations to all of the good folks here at Avalon on a great day, a great ceremony, a great moment for the school and the program, putting this program on the map. I want to thank Brandon Roth for making this happen.
Thank you.
My man's got connections, and if you want to learn about that and more about some of the insight he has on recruits with the ability to make days like today happen, you can tune in and see Brandon on Recruiting Insider live at DMVSTREAM.com. That's Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. We'll have some stuff from today's broadcast and about some other kids as well. Let's wrap this up because it was a big decision today about the Terps, and we are DMV Stream of the DMV, and then M meaning Maryland. The Terps killed it today. Everybody that was expected not expected, but the Terps faithful hoped would commit. It appears some of the updates we've been getting on Twitter and more have. Yeah. They stole Tavon Jacobs away from Ohio State. Yannick is staying local, a guy that many thought would be off and gone on the national level away from home. And then kind of a late find in here in Jacquille Veii. So, in your opinion, Brandon, how good did the Terps do today?
I mean, the Terps did as good as anyone could have hoped for. I mean, obviously last year you had the big hullabaloo with Stephon Diggs and all that, but I think honestly today was more of a building stone for them building the program up to where they can win bowl games and compete in the ACC every year. I mean, they got 3 kids at all positions of need. I mean, Tavon Jacobs is going to play a Percy Harvin type of role in that offense. You have Yannick, who is a pass-rushing outside linebacker, and then you have Jacquille, who's going to contribute on special teams and in the secondary. I mean, you got a little bit of everything today. Really build up that Maryland class.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. We want to thank you for joining us at DMVSTREAM.com. Before we do that, I'd like to run a quick promo. It's informational for you guys at home. Maybe some athletes are watching this back. We do live commitments, and you can apply to have your commitment ceremony streamed live. I want to show you a little bit about that. So, Brian, why don't we run the promo about committing live at DMVSTREAM.com.
At DMVSTREAM.com, we'll stream your verbal commitment live to our audience, viewable on computers, televisions, and mobile devices. Stream your college commitment live to the world. Let us know when and where you'll make the biggest choice of your athletic career, and we'll dispatch a producer. We'll handle all the technical, putting you in front and center under the brightest lights on your biggest day. You can blast your biggest moments to all your friends and family, as well as Facebook and Twitter followers. They can watch you make this choice live. Interested in having us stream your commitment? Fill out the form below and let us know how we can get involved. Remember, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and visit us on the web at DMVSTREAM.com.
Okay. All right. So just took a quick picture with Jacquille. Sorry, you'll have to excuse us. So, all right, that does it for our broadcast here at DMVSTREAM.com. Remember, DMVSTREAM.com streams to your computers, tablets, and mobile devices. You can watch local high school sports, shows, and more directly in the palm of your hand. Check it out. There's also the ability to vote and tell us where you want us to broadcast our next game live. Go to DMVSTREAM.com/vote. Right now, there are over 6,000 votes in our current Game of the Week poll on Friday night. Looks like the battle between Potomac School, Flint Hill, that game, and also the Langley-McLean game is sort of leading the charge. But you can tell us where you want us to be on Friday night. That does it for us here live from the Avalon School. I'm BJ Kuberulis. Want to thank Brandon Roth for everything he did today. Want to thank producer-director Brian Decker. Nick Plum also was part of the crew. And we'll see you next time at DMVStream.com.